Ooh, wow, my volume is really down. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the May mini workshop. Let me just make sure that that's up all the way. There we go. Anyway, so the May mini workshop, I'm really excited to be here. Today's May 29th, and you may or may not know this, depending upon how much we engage and interact on a one-on-one level, but I'm coming back from a very regenerative space. Anyway, so May is where we unraveled the beliefs that have been running our lives behind the scenes. So whether you joined us this month or you're just dropping in now, you're exactly where you need to be. Because today I want to talk about the stories that you've been telling yourself, consciously or not, and how to rewrite them with intention. Excuse me. So let's talk about recognizing the voice. So we're going to start with this. I want you to ask yourself, what's the story you've been silently living by? And if you want to push pause at any time. Take this time in this space. Don't try to complete it in the 20 minutes, although I'll probably go over 20 minutes today because I'm so fired up. Anyway, push pause whenever you need and start with an intention of really investigating what the story is that you've been silently living by. Not the one you tell others, the one that plays on a constant loop behind all of your decisions, behind your doubts, behind that hesitation. You know what I mean by hesitation? Because here's the deal. Limiting beliefs don't show up as full sentences. They disguise themselves as patterns, as overthinking, ruminating, wallowing, languishing. They show up as fear of failure or the pressure to prove yourself, most often just to yourself, but we think it's other people. So ask yourself, whose voice are you obeying? So I'd like to pause so that we can go below the surface. Because this month hasn't been just about catching limiting beliefs. It's been all about recognizing who planted them in the first place. Oh, sorry, my phone is dinging at me. Oops, there we go. So it's about recognizing who planted them in the first place, because we're not born doubting ourselves. Think back to that child, right? Like we weren't born doubting ourselves. We're like, hey, I can pull up on this couch. I can do it because I want to. And I'm going to be determined until both of my feet are under the ground and I'm standing here holding up on the couch. And now I'm going to bounce up and down and I'm going to be super happy and I'm going to celebrate me. No, we're taught to question our abilities. We're taught to question our abilities. We're conditioned to fear judgment. And we are trained to prioritize survival over expression. And honestly, the most powerful work we do is in unlearning what never belonged to us in the first place. Now ask yourself, honestly and gently, what's the one thought that shows up when I'm about to try something new? Think about that. What's the one thought that shows up when you're about to try something new? Is it fear of failure? Is it, who do you think you are? Is it you're not ready, not smart enough, not polished enough? And ask yourself, whose voice is it really? Was it a parent? Maybe your mom? Was it a coach? A partner? A sibling? A friend? Maybe it was a past version of you trying to stay safe. I want you to let that truth rise, not to blame, but to free. Because here's the reframe. The moment you name the voice, you separate from it. The moment you question it, you loosen its grip. And the moment you choose a new thought, you reclaim your authority. This is where healing becomes choice. You know me. I'm all about accepting the fact that everything is a choice. And that choice becomes change. So this is where healing becomes your choice. You're not obligated to obey a voice that keeps you small. Let the question sink in. Because before we can rewrite a belief, we have to recognize that it's not truth. It's merely repetition. So let's dive into understanding that root, okay? Because most of our beliefs were installed before we had the tools to question. Oh, think of that. Most of our beliefs were installed before we had the tools to question them. They came from our parents, our teachers, our culture, our community, our trauma. And over time, they started to feel like fact. And here's the truth. A belief, I want you to hear this, a belief is not fact. It's a practiced thought. And it can be replaced with what? Practice. So one of the most powerful questions we explored this month was this one. If I didn't believe this, what would I do differently? Right? So that was the most important question. If I didn't believe this, what would I do differently? So let's learn. Let's dive into this. How beliefs show up in behavior and the nervous system, how beliefs show up in our behavior plus the nervous system's role to repeat patterns, right? So this is what I want you to talk about, or I want you to think about. Let's do this way. I want to this again. I'm so fired up. I got to make sure I'm keeping my own train of thought, right? So let's talk about how these limiting beliefs are sneaking into our behavior, because it's not always obvious. Excuse Augie's barking, right? Anyway, most of the time, excuse me. This little guy. Anyway, so it's not always obvious, because most of the time, what we're thinking, most of the time we think we're being responsible, okay? Most of the time we think we're being driven. Most of the time we think we're being available. But if we look closer, many of those behaviors are actually survival patterns, and they've been built to protect a belief that we haven't stopped to question. So here's what this can look like. And because I know we were a little bit distracted there. Over functioning. Okay. So if you're one of those over functioners like me, right? Like it's when you do too much, you take on too much, you stay constantly in motion, right? That's often rooted in a belief that sounds like if I stop, oh, I'm going to fall behind. Or, and this is my favorite, right? Because it's near and dear to my heart and most of my clients, my value comes from what I produce, what I do, what I give. Which rolls us right into perfectionism, that pressure to get it exactly right every time. That one usually stems from, if I'm not perfect, I won't be safe or accepted. If I'm not perfect, I won't be safe. And I certainly won't be accepted. So that brings us to the people pleasing. And this one, my goodness gracious, is oh so sneaky. Because on the surface, it looks like kindness. But underneath, it's often, if I disappoint someone, they'll reject me. Or their needs matter more than mine. I want you to pause here. Because it's a space where it's really important to ask yourself this question. Which of these 3 behaviors feels familiar? People pleasing, perfectionism, over-functioning. Which one feels the most familiar to you? And what belief might be hiding underneath it? So I'd imagine that now you're perhaps wondering, why do these patterns stick around? So that brings us to the nervous system. I kind of mentioned a few minutes ago. It's because our nervous system is wired for familiarity. That was a hard one to say. It doesn't care, right? Like it doesn't care if the pattern is painful. It only cares what's predictable. So when you go to set a limit or a limitation in everyday language, a boundary, what I want you to do is slow down. Or better yet, try something new. Your body interprets these things as risk. Get it? So what you're going to experience is discomfort, doubt. You may find yourself self-sabotaging or procrastinating. And it's not because you're weak or broken. It's because your nervous system is trained to keep you inside the belief, even when it no longer serves you. So I'm really excited. There's a power move I want to give you. Okay. That's gonna help. Okay. When you start to feel that resistance, instead of retreating, I want you to recognize it as a sign that you're leaving the old belief behind. So that tension that you feel, that's your cue. It means the most exciting thing, right? It means that growth is happening. And the more often that you move through it, and for those of you who work with me a lot, right? Sit in and move through. Right? Every time you sit in and move through the uncomfortable, you grow, you change, you shift, you morph. And the more purposeful and intention focused you are with it, the more you grow in the direction that you desire. Right? The more often you move through it consciously, calmly, passionately, the more your system learns a new way. So I want you to reflect on this. Okay. You can write this down, hit pause, do the work, come back to it later. But what belief have you been obeying without realizing it? And what is it costing? This is big stuff. We didn't do anything fluffy in the month of May. Right? So what belief have you been obeying without realizing it? And what is it costing you? So here's the shift. Here's how we're going to do some interrupting and some redeciding, right? All month long. We didn't just name our beliefs. We interrupted patterns, or that's what our intention was when we started the month, right? So we interrupted the pattern. We practiced the redecision process where we paused, rewound, and we chose again. So let's zoom out and make this process tangible, especially for those of you who didn't engage all month long, but even for you guys that did engage all month and were very patient in my absence, right? So we're going to zoom out. Let's make this process tangible, because it's one thing to have insight, but it's another to use it when it counts the most. So here's the 4-step pattern interruption process. Step 1 is catch the pattern in real time, because you can't change what you're not aware of. So the very first step is to notice. Notice the moment the old script starts playing. And this might sound like, here I go again, trying to fix everything for everyone. Or for a lot of you, I'm about to say yes, even though I don't want to. God, I'm good. If I open my mouth, I'm going to say yes. Or this perfection spiral, it's kicking in hard right now. Awareness is your power. And in this particular case, it's your first exit, right? Exit stage left, exit stage right, right? It's your first exit off that autopilot highway. Step 2, interrupt it. So once you catch it, you've got to pause. Not tomorrow, not after you please them, right now. Right here, right now, in this moment. Use any of your interruption tools, whether it's the breath, in through your nose, out through your mouth, the anchor, touch your chest, press your thumb and finger together, whatever physical cue you've trained to bring you back, right? Like, get it off you. Me, I do this one a lot, right? Whatever anchor, speak directly to yourself, right? Like, just stop. Like, this is an old pattern. I choose something different now. I know when I quit drinking alcohol, it was just a conditioned part of my life. It was part of my upbringing. It was part of my culture. It was part of my trauma, right? Like, it was part of so many things. It was part of I thought my identity. And it was really just a habitual way of being. And so I would say to myself out loud, because I had to actually learn how to open the refrigerator door and not reach in for a can of Coors Light, right? So I would say to myself, oh, no, I don't do that anymore. And it was just something I would say out loud. I don't do that anymore. And then I said, wow, that works for my 30 plus year relationship with alcohol. That's going to work with so many things, right? Like just a simple phrase. No, I don't do that anymore. Negative thoughts, whatever it was, right? Like it just worked. So interrupting is how we send signals to our nervous system that says we're safe, we're aware, and we're leading. I'm leading. This is my life too. It gets to look, feel, be however I want it to. I get to choose. Step 3, ask the better question. So now that you've caught it, you've interrupted the loop, drop in this little upgrade, right? What do I want to believe right now? That's the better question. When you say, what do I want to think, feel, believe, experience right now? Not what do I feel obligated to do? Not what does someone else expect of me, but you. What belief would serve you better in this moment? Instead of, I have to fix this, you could say, I can support without overfunction. Instead of failing, you could say, I'm learning something new. The list for this one goes on and on. So feel free, grab some time on my calendar and we'll go through these for you. It's kind of a tricky thing to learn, right? To restructure that voice in the head. So I'm happy to help. Step 4, speak it, anchor it, and repeat it. So I want you to say that upgraded belief out loud or write it down. I prefer both. Reinforce it with your anchor, touch, posture, breath, whatever it is. Make it real in your body. And then repeat. Because repetition isn't just practice. It's actually the reprogramming. Remember, I said we did this. We got where we are through a conditioning process, through repetition, through continuous rewind, right? So this is that reprogramming process. And it has to happen through repetition and practice. So the more often you practice the sequence, the easier it becomes. And eventually it's not just something you do, it's who you are. I made a statement on my vacation that was, I value my mental clarity and my emotional stability far too much to invite anything in that may alter that. And that's how I got to 12 years of living addiction free. And I don't mean just from alcohol and chemical substances. I mean from the internal loops of the perfectionism, of the overthinking, the overwhelm, the overperforming, the people-pleasing codependency, of the internal pressure to perform, all of it. This lifestyle that I've created through going through these processes, through restructuring, retraining, right, has created a lifestyle for me that allows me to show up exactly as I desire in every single moment. So this isn't about perfectionism. It's about pattern disruption. And every time you catch it, interrupt it, and choose again, you reclaim that a piece of your power. That the child that said, I'm gonna pull up on the couch and teach myself how to stand upright like everybody else in my world. I'm gonna do it my way and in my time. Because change doesn't come from understanding alone. It comes from deciding differently under pressure. Now we have to talk about living the new narrative because there's a magic to it. There really is. And you don't need to wait to feel ready to believe something new. I want you to hear that again. You don't need to wait to feel ready to believe something new. You just have to practice believing it on purpose. Practice believing it on purpose. Even if it feels unnatural, even if it doesn't fully stick yet. One of the biggest breakthroughs that we've seen this month is this. How do I put this? You don't have to hustle for your worthiness. I'm going to say that's the biggest breakthrough that I've seen, that you've experienced, that I know to be true this month, right? You don't have to hustle for worthiness. You already are worthy, and that belief changes absolutely everything. So for those of you who are just joining us, right, try this. I want you to write down one belief that no longer serves you. Then I want you to rewrite it, not as a goal, but as a present truth that you are choosing on purpose, intention, with desire, with determination. And if you're already part of the Insight and Impact Focus group, you've got more tools coming next month to help you live this transformation. I am so fired up for June because we're going to do a pretty big audit. We're going to build emotional agility in a way that you can't even fathom yet. So if you haven't joined us, this is your moment. By June 1st, well, let's just say between now and Monday, if you can, because today's the 29th, register to attend the weekly live sessions or experience the entire month via replays, worksheets, and personalized guidance. Because I get it, right? Like, it's real hard to choose a time block that works for everybody. So, well, I choose the time block that works the best for me. And so that's Monday evenings, Pacific Standard Time from 4:30 to 6 p.m. But we do post the replay, the worksheets, and everybody has access to personalized guidance right on the app. And we're working on the desktop version. But anyway, so we're not just changing beliefs, we're building emotional agility next month. And an emotional agility that's going to let you lead your life from the inside out. So let's keep the momentum going. Let's start igniting your fire. If you're new here, I'm excited. In fact, I'm leaving here right now to go get everything ready for June. I did a lot of writing, and I'm super excited and passionate about it. So, many blessings. Thank you so much for being here in the month of May. Thank you for listening to this mini workshop. I hope it is helpful. Choose with intention.